वहवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
यावत् पवनो निवसति देहे तावत् पृच्छति कुशलं गेहे। गतवति वायौ देहापाये भार्या बिभ्रति तस्मिन् काये। बालस्तावत् क्रीडासक्तः तरुणस्तावत् तरुणीसक्तः। वृद्धस्तावत् चिन्तासक्तः परमे ब्रह्मणि कोऽपि न सक्तः। काते कान्ता कस्ते पुत्रः संसारोऽयमतीव विचित्रः। कस्य त्वं कः कुतायातः तत्त्वं चिन्तय तदिह भ्रातः। सत्सङ्गत्वे निस्सङ्गत्वं निस्सङ्गत्वे निर्मोहत्वम्। निर्मोहत्वे निश्चलतत्वं निश्चलतत्वे जीवन्मुक्तिः। वयसि गते कः कामविकारः शुष्के नीरे कः कासारः। क्षीणे वित्ते कः परिवारो ज्ञाते तत्त्वे कः संसारः। मा कुरु धन जन यौवन गर्वं हरति निमेषात् कालः सर्वम्। मायामयमिदमखिलं बुद्ध्वा ब्रह्मपदं त्वं प्रविश विदित्वा। दिनयामिन्यौ सायं प्रातः शिशिरवसन्तौ पुनरायातः। कालः क्रीडति गच्छत्यायुः तदपि न मुञ्चत्याशावायुः। काते कान्ता धनगतचिन्ता वातुल किं तव नास्ति नियन्ता। त्रिजगति सज्जन सङ्गतिरेका भवति भवार्णवतरणे नौका। जटिलो मुण्डीलुञ्चितकेशः काषायाम्बर बहुकृतवेषः। पश्यन्नपि च न पश्यति मूढो युदरनिमित्तं बहुकृतवेषः। अङ्गं गलितं पलितं मुण्डं दशनविहीनं जातं तुण्डम्। वृद्धो याति गृहीत्वा दण्डं तदपि न मुञ्चत्याशापिण्डम्।
From the company of the good arises non-attachment. From non-attachment arises freedom from delusion. From non-delusion arises absolute steadfastness. From absolute steadfastness arises liberation in life. This verse talks about the entry into spiritual path, and then it takes us step by step till the point of liberation. The starting point is satsang. So we said that the first sentence says that satsang leads to Nissang. Nissang means non-attachment. When we are in any other company other than satsang, there is every chance that we will get involved in that company. So why is it that when we are in satsang, we will not get involved in such a good company? And that is another type of involvement. But the statement here says, from satsang, you move on to non-attachment. So the question is, how does satsang lead to non-attachment? So therefore, this statement probably gives an indication or idea as to what real satsang is. So let us put it the other way. That which leads you to non-attachment is called as the real satsang. It is, most of the people in the world may be good also. Your own friends or relatives, we are not saying that they need be any corrupt or bad company. But even in a good company, what is the kind of association that we have that really matters? Most of the time, you may be even conversing with them on certain issues with reference to family, certain issues with reference to world, and we need not even give it a negative connotation. Even if you are talking something about it, invariably our thoughts are centered around what he previously defined as samsara. It is unnecessarily getting entangled in something which has no value with reference to the time we have. So therefore, that type of association only further leads to development of desires in those areas, and then you look forward to, some people just have to call up somebody, or they talk over phone, or they just meet friends. They will be talking for together, hours together, but totally unproductive as it is. At the end of it all, they have achieved nothing. What is the real benefit out of it? What has gone actually? The energy only has gone, nothing else. And even some people who don't have such company, they may associate themselves with social media, they may associate themselves with television. There also, what type of programs that we see, and then we invariably get caught up in it, get drawn to it. This is called as attachment. So even if you say, I am not watching any vulgar movies or vulgar serials or anything like that, you are seeing normal entertainment. It could be a cartoon, it could be anything for that matter. But invariably, an association with that as an end in itself draws you more into that type of attachment. That's all. So here we need not classify them as something bad, but yet it is not a satsang. So therefore, satsang is something which is really elevating. Now why does that happen? When we talk about a class like this, or when you go to a kirtan or a bhajan, when you go to a temple and there some program is happening, all that is satsang. What happens there? What happens in a class like this, or what should ideally happen in a class like this, is that this 1 hour in a week that you assemble, where the thought is oriented, is very important here. Now you may ask, can it not be done at the comfort of my home? It can be done, but it is rather very difficult. Satsang is the most conducive place in which the intellect grows. Intellect is growing based on our early morning study and reflection, by original thinking, by thinking again and again. That is how the intellect develops. And we are thinking not about any subject, we are thinking about what is given in the scriptures. But to do this sadhana all by yourself needs a lot of stamina. That is why 3 years of study minimum is required at Vedanta Academy to get grounded in the fundamentals of the knowledge. It is not that 3 years we have transformed completely into a different level altogether, but the foundations are given in a very strong way. There also, in a conducive manner, all the aspects of the schedule is designed, plus other students and other seekers who are coming there, they are also oriented towards their own self-development. So the key focus of satsang is that each and every person comes in that company because he is oriented towards his own self-development, which is going to lead to self-realization. Therefore, what gets strengthened in a satsang is this thought, that your thought of self-development, thought of self-realization, thought of God, thought of something higher. Therefore, what gets strengthened is that attachment, if you want to call that attachment. Therefore, the other attachments in the world automatically wean off or drop off. The same amount of knowledge, the same amount of spiritual elevation, if you want to get it all by yourself, maybe it will take 10 times the more effort or 10 times the more time. So it is possible. It is not that it is not possible, but it is rather difficult for a plane to fly from, let's say, Bombay to Calcutta, and in the wind is also blowing from Bombay to Calcutta, that is from west to east, then the plane's travel time is faster. It is called as tailwind. The wind flows from tail towards the head. It's called tailwind. Tailwind takes the plane faster. If the plane is flying from Bombay to Calcutta, but the wind is in the opposite direction, which is called headwind, it is blowing from east to west, then it resists the speed of the plane. So therefore the plane will be slow. The speed of the plane is based on the motor. The speed of the plane is based on the engine that is functioning. That is the main thing. But there is a conducive factor here in the form of the wind. Similarly, your intellect gets a tailwind in satsang. In satsang, the growth is always easier. Satsang can be in a different way taken as a tapas itself. Tapas means a concerted effort towards attaining something higher is called as tapas. Tapas in Sanskrit means to heat. Heat is tapas. So that means the body is put through some certain difficulties or heat, as it were, so that the thoughts are oriented towards the higher. That is called as tapas. We see in tapas the picture of very many people have done tapas. Brahma has done tapas. Even Rakshasas and Asuras gained power due to tapas. We give the picture of a person standing on one leg, or hanging upside down, or standing in middle of fire, like that, or in the cold of Himalayas, like that it is given, which is not a very comfortable position. What it means is, when the body is in a very, very comfortable way all the time, the thought normally does not go to the higher easily. It is just indulging in that comfort. If you are going through certain amount of difficulties, there is an automatic orientation of the thought towards the higher. That direction of thought towards the higher is the important thing, for which this practice helps. So when people put on the mala for Shabarimala for 40 days in the month of December, and then they visit the temple in January, in winter time, they have to take bath in cold water, they should not shave, they walk on barefoot. All this is a sort of a tapas. Even in a worldly way, a lady who wants to win the title of a Miss Universe or a Miss World, the amount of preparation she has to go through for 1 year or even more than that is a form of a tapas. What type of food you eat, how much you eat, what exercises you do, how you conduct yourself, how you talk, how you walk, each and everything, that energy is directed towards that thing only. What the cricket players go through on a continual basis, if they want to sustain themselves in the team and play at the highest level for the country, one way it's a tapas. So tapas is a concerted effort. And even if we do tapas for some time, our energies we do get frittered in a unproductive means some other time, so we probably come back to the same level. This energy that you need to conserve and direct it towards the higher is called as tapas, and yajna, dana, tapa, they are all considered as very spiritual, elevating activities which you take you towards the self. But in our present state, nobody is, I wouldn't say interested, but we seem to be incapable of doing tapas. It requires a lot of willpower, it requires a lot of stamina, it requires a lot of focus. Satsang provides you a glimpse of what it is. Our energies gets wasted through three main channels. There is energy going away by physical activities in the body. Very famous form of energy going through is the speech. When you speak, energy goes away. And then you need not do these two. Mind itself goes for a chakkar here and there and the energy goes away. Manas, Vak and Kayam. That is mind, speech and body. All these three levels ooze out our energy, release our energy in unproductive channels. Now imagine, even if a person comes here, let us assume that that person doesn't even understand one bit of this. It does not matter really. Still satsang will help. It helps because for 1 hour at least you are sitting in one place. That's a very big achievement. You try to sit in your home for 1 hour. Don't watch TV. Keep your mobile aside. Try to take this type of a book and read. For 1 hour you sit in a place. You are just waiting if anybody is calling, you want to do something or the other. In the name of help only you want to get up. It is not easy to sit in one place. But here you are provided an opportunity, or rather no choice, that you must sit in one place, that the body doesn't move. It's a great, great boon that we are experiencing seated in a place. In the definition of Upanishad, we saw that Upa, Ni and Shad. Shad means to sit. Sit means a practice by which you are introverted. Always, because of a lot of desires, the body is expressive in nature. It wants to go here, it wants to go there, it wants to do this, want to do that. That is how we are oriented. So, to ask that person to sit for a while, it is not easy. But in a satsang, you are sort of forced to practice it. So, the body is doing tapas as it were. Speech, 1 hour you are not allowed to speak. Of course, here we do encourage questions. I am not saying that. Your unnecessary talk is not there. Just absorption is there. You are not speaking, and therefore for 1 hour that major way by which the energy goes out, that speech is curtailed. Only one person speaks here. Whether it is a tapas or not, I don't know. But that speech is restricted as far as the others are concerned in satsang. In satsang you can sing kirtan or something. So there you can't say I am doing maunavratam then. So the whole aspect of speech restriction is only to direct energies towards higher. Okay. So that is another form. Think about it. To say Lord's name all the time, it's quite simple. But how does it come? It doesn't come easily. But in a satsang, it comes easily because when everybody is chanting, you chant. When everybody is singing, you sing. It becomes then all our ego and other things also get eased out there. So the tapas of speech is also practiced in a satsang, consciously or unconsciously. And then the mind is the most active part. It is just not in our control at all. It needs a very strong intellect to control. We are in the process of developing the intellect. But at least for an hour in the satsang, what happens? Whether you like it or not, you are trying to focus on what is said there. To that extent, you are trying to focus the mind. It is unnecessarily not going here or there, or that distraction chance is very less. So the mind's tapas is also there. So, irrespective of anything, even if you just come and sit in a satsang, it works. I have heard stalwarts say that even if you feel sleepy, doesn't matter. Just come there. Even if you are feeling sleepy, sleep. Only thing, you sleep in the back little bit, because if you snore, it should not disturb others. That much of help you must do to others. Now, you may ask, what is the use of it? The use of it you really do not know, because the atmosphere that is created in a satsang by the collective thought force, what enters through you in the unconscious mode also actually helps. So it is not a wasted effort that way. So therefore, satsang at all costs should be maintained. That's why we say, even if sometimes if the person who is coordinating or conducting the class is not there also, the class members should assemble at that point of time and discuss among themselves. Because the concept of satsang must not be left at all. And we said, satsang is not just good people, it is also extended to other aspects of our personality, whatever you associate with. What is the type of food that you eat? The sattvic type of food which is conducive. Again, the orientation is towards the self. Remember that. What type of music you listen to? That music which is conducive for your growth. What type of literature you read? in each and everything. See, a person can go into Himalayas where he is not associating with any person, all alone by himself. But suppose there, if he reads any wrong type of book, that is another way by which the thought flow is drawn somewhere else. So the conducive book that you read, the conducive music that you hear, each and everything is a extended aspect of satsang. Satsang, if a person gets into, then he need not worry anything about in his life. Step by step, everything is taken care of. We talked about this. Swamiji's interpretation of this verse is interesting. He says there is 3R traffic of life. Constantly, we go through this motions or traffic of life. The 3Rs. The 3R is receipt, R-E-C-I-P-T, receipt, reaction, response. So here is the world. The world enters to you. This is the mind. This is the intellect. And this is the world again. So here is the receipt, here is the reaction, here is the response. Receipt, reaction and response. The world enters into you through your organs of perception. It is called as Jnanendriyas. Jnanendriyas means the organs of perception. So the world enters into you through eyes, through ears, sound enters through ears, sight enters through eyes, smell enters through nose, touch enters through skin, taste enters through tongue. These are the 5 sense organs. And these 5 sense organs cannot be shut. It is already open. Okay, voluntarily you can close the eyes, but how long can you close the eyes? You cannot. Even if you sleep, you have to get up, So constantly the eyes are contacting the world. The ears are already open. Sound is there. You have to eat something. Therefore, the tongue is always fed. Nose you cannot close. You have to breathe. Therefore, smell also comes. And the skin is exposed. So 5 sense organs are always exposed to the world. So constantly something or the other. We can argue that at the action level we can restrict. But at the perception level, how can we restrict? It is there already open. So therefore, we need to filter what is coming in. This is very important. That is where satsang comes in. It's like this functions like a factory. In a factory, the raw material is fed on one side. The machinery is there which processes, that is, you can say, is a reaction. And then the finished product comes out on the other side. You can equate it to response. So receipt is like feeding the raw material into the machinery. Let's say sugarcane is fed there. And then the machinery is well oiled and well maintained properly. Then it crushes, and let us say the juice or the sugar or whatever comes out on the other side is the finished product. We need to examine all the 3, but the first and foremost thing is, if the raw material itself is not conducive, it's bad, then how can we expect any good product out of that system? So exactly like that, in here there is a receipt, reaction, response. The raw material is the receipt that is coming in from the external world. Better have a check in that. So therefore, satsang is to do with the right type of receipts. Then he says, satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam. Nissangatve nirmohatvam means the moment you are detached, you get into what is known as a state of non-delusion, nirmohatvam. This moha or delusion can be understood at 2 levels. Moha at the absolute level is that any individual who has fallen from the self, as it were, is deluded. Deluded in the sense, every individual till he reaches the point of self-realization is under the spell of Maya. You can say that is delusion. That individual doesn't know what he is, who he is, where is he coming from, where is he going, who is his father's first father. None of these questions we know. This entire range of confusion in us, which we are not aware of. That is the point. The delusion or the moha quality is that we are not aware of the basic fundamental questions, but we are so complacent that we don't even bother to ask that question. That state is called as delusion. At the relative level, delusion means it is the same state of confusion caused by excess of any emotion, excess of anger, excess of jealousy, excess of fear, where your intellect is not available to control. You get into a frequency where you don't know what you are doing, what you are saying. That is called as delusion. Now here he is talking about the moment you come out from the bondage to the world, which is non-attachment, this automatically leads you towards that state of ultimate non-delusion itself. Okay, at the ultimate level, it is the state of meaning he is talking about that you will reach the self. But even if you apply it relatively, it works. That when a person enters into satsang and relatively gets detached from the world, his intellect becomes strong enough that it will not allow your mind to get into the frequency of emotion where it will get into delusion. That means that person is more stable in life. So from non-attachment comes non-delusion. That is why he continues and says, non-delusion leads to nischala tattvam. Nirmohatve nischala tattvam. Nischala tattvam means a very, very steady intellect. Nischala tattvam means there is no shala, there is no unsteadiness. It is absolute steadfastness or absolute firmness. Again, from the absolute level, you see that it is rock seated in the self. From the relative level, the intellect now is rock seated in its pursuit of the self. It becomes totally steady in its concentration, finally culminating in the meditation of the self. Nothing can waver that personality anymore. All that started with satsang, now the thoughts are solidifying and solidifying. It comes to a level where it is absolutely in a steadfast state. He is in a state where he cannot be disturbed at all. He is single-pointedly focused upon the self. Nirmohatve nischala tattvam. Nischala tattve jivan muktihi. If you sustain way, if you keep that thought upon the self, you get into liberation. So absolute state of samadhi where the nischala tattvam, where the thought snaps, that is a state of liberation or jivan muktihi. Why is referring to realization as jivan muktihi means you can attain that liberation here and now. Here and now means in this world, in this lifetime, now here you can reach it. Every religion talks about salvation in some form or the other. Liberation, salvation, mukti, moksha, nirvana, apavarga, various names are given for the state. But all that every religion is saying is, you are bound, you are not what you believe yourself to be, but you need to be liberated. You need to be free. You need liberation. How that liberation comes, that's different. But liberation is a sort of a key concept. And what is the methodology and what is the final state, that can differ. But everybody concurs on you must be liberated. You must be liberated. That everybody says. In different ways they say. Now, in terms of time and space, many people or many schools of thought or many religions, even in Vedanta, various other schools of thought, when I say all religions, except maybe materialistic philosophies like Charvaka, that's understood. Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, Islam, I am talking about those things. Everything talks about some sort of salvation, liberation. When you say liberation, finally it's merger with God. All those things they may say, but where is he now? Show to me. No. He is there, somewhere there, beyond all, everything transcendental, beyond there in Swarga, beyond there in the Father in the heaven, or in Vaikuntha, or in Kailash, or somewhere in Goloka, or Saketa Loka, where Lord Rama is there. Like that they say. And then, therefore, in terms of space, it is somewhere else. In terms of time, not now, later. You do everything in this world, finally you will be liberated and you will go there, and that is absolute fact. That is also one way of looking at it. That then therefore you cannot ask that master or ask that school of philosophy to prove it to you or show it to you here, now. It is not possible. But Advaita Vedanta is probably the only school which says it is possible here and now. We are not saying liberation is somewhere else that you must go and get it, or sometime later you will get it. It is here and now. This concept is given or indicated by the term called Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukti means liberated while living in this body. All that it needs to be understood is that your real self is already free. It is not that the moment we say liberation, the immediate thought comes that we are bound. The real self in you is not bound. It is just that we believe ourselves to be bound. That is actually the delusion. It is we are not aware of our original state, which is ever free. Jivan Mukti means you realize that you are ever free. That's all it is. Even in Vedanta, they talk about Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. Videha Mukti means you have to finish the karma till the body is there. After that, you are finished. But you are free only after your Deha also goes away. And there are countless arguments, because these things cannot be established by intellectual arguments alone. You have to go there and see what it is. But one of the powerful arguments given in favor of Jivan Mukti is where Adi Shankaracharya and others who espoused this concept is, if a person is not liberated while living here, all the literatures, all the Upanishads, all the mantras, everything that came through his mouth, which came through him, will not be then inspired texts. They are not like inspired texts. They are just some thought out or written out something. That is not the case. When you even study the works of Swami Ramtirtha, it vibrates in our hands. Very clearly, it is all his recorded statements, right? His recorded statements we are reading 100 years later, still if it gives that effect, what must be it when it coming through him? There is probably no doubt that that person is a liberated person. But again, if you ask somebody to say, can you prove it? Nobody can prove it. So that is why Gita says, Yaha Pashyati, Saha Pashyati. Therefore, up to that state of liberating yourself here and now in this lifetime, what leads you is to start with is the satsang. From the company of the good arises non-attachment. From the non-attachment arises freedom from delusion. From non-delusion arises absolute steadfastness. From absolute steadfastness arises liberation in life. So Swamiji has equated this to receipt, reaction, final response. Like that in an internal level, yes. You can read through the commentary there. So satsang is that which is conducive for development of intellect. And the greatest legacy that you can leave for your next generation, your children or whoever you want to wish, is that you introduce themselves to satsang. This is the greatest asset that you can give it to them. Yes, sir.
Me?
Yeah.
Suppose we are at position 0 now. So this verse takes us higher and higher level. And there's a verse in Gita which talks about Dhyato Vishantam Satsangaseshu Vajayate. That one takes us lower and lower. Can we look at it that way?
Yeah. First point is, none of us are at the level of 0. Assuming, let us take animals to be at the level of 0 and self-realized person at the level of 100. We are all somewhere in between. So that is why Swamiji says, all of us are even born with certain percentage or certain degree of intellect. It is just that whatever intellect we go through the motions of life and pass away, that we do not put in special effort to develop the intellect further. Okay. So we are all at some level. It could be 10%, it could be 80%. It varies in degrees for all of us. Now, whichever level you are, to develop that intellect further, satsang provides a conducive environment, we said, but the development of intellect comes through your original thinking and your awareness, going to higher levels of awareness, like that it is. The verse that you are quoting in Bhagavad Gita, it is talking about, you are right, as to what the opposite happens. What opposite happens there is, verse 62 and 63 of chapter 2 says, that a man muses on some object, he develops attachment. Then attachment leads to desire. Like that, a series of things are given there. All that he need to do is, it all starts with one thought. Okay? Here, maybe a company or not company, all that is not required. All that is required to intensify the desire or the attachment within you is that he just muses on them. Muses on them means the mind constantly thinks of it. It is not a conscious thought flow of the intellect, but mind has a tendency to go over it again and again. This is the nature of the mind. So by that virtue of that, it gets strengthened, and when it gets strengthened, it leads you to all the unwanted consequences of all the other negative emotions that we go through. That is what that verse says. Yes, sir.
Sir, satsang by and large has to be planned, like a weekly class or morning meeting or whatever. And to a certain extent, maybe they can play satsang at a house. But when you are moving in a society or you are at workplace, you can't really control a lot of things. So how do you practice satsang in a crowd?
If you are saying satsang is there in the house, congratulate yourself. It is, when I say that, I am not talking anything negative about family life. I am only saying, when we are constantly meeting the family members, when you are constantly, just the same thing, when you are constantly meeting the business partners or your creditors or your debtors or employees and everything, we are mostly constantly, our thought association is with reference to that what is the family affairs, what is the business affairs, what is the corporate affairs, all that is with reference to pertaining to the world. Okay. So it is important, that is precisely why we need satsang. See, the point is, since we are constantly contacting the world, if you are able to make your life in such a way that only meeting, going and living through satsang is the entire life, blessed are those people. Then there are people who have lived like that. But at the present, if you feel you are bound by the samsaric commitments, within quote I am saying commitments that you have got for yourself, then if you have, first we have to realize that that it is slowly drawing us somewhere inside. For me to extricate myself, I need to associate with something else. Therefore, for such a person, a class like this or any temple or any association like where it is self-knowledge is given in some form or the other becomes a satsang. So in and through all his motions of life, through all those difficulties, through all those tough situations, if he is able to associate himself with this little bit, that slowly the taste, slowly his preoccupation in this will make him extricate. He may still go through the motions of the family business and everything, yet he will develop a detachment. So in terms of satsang, it is something very exclusive which is for your self-development vis-a-vis the other sang. If your whole family members and everybody is oriented towards this, that itself is a satsang. There are very many families also which have been like that. Imagine if in a family, the father is oriented towards studying this, the wife is also helping him, the children are right from young days growing up with this thought and idea, and then if any person enters into that family, he is also put into a positive peer pressure as to he also has to follow that in a way. That type of a family is there. And again, wherever you get a chance, you go with some group to some bhajan or kirtan or to pilgrimage or something. So the whole life, you are not doing it again mechanically for the sake of doing it, but with that inspiration to be with the master, to be with that group. There are various people who have lived like that. So blessed are those persons. For others, you have to yearn for that, and in the present time available at least once a week, at least twice a week, something like that, and keep your morning study as much as possible, which is your personal satsang. Your study, you are listening to some lecture or something like that, that keep it going. That is a way by which you are maintaining a good association of thought within you. That's how it should be taken.
But practicing satsang even in a crowd, when you keep thinking of something higher, that actually, though you may be in a crowd, but still you are in a satsang. So how does one really...
No, thinking higher is satsang.
Yeah, but in a crowd you tend not to think like that.
No, that is why you have to first practice it. Have you ever, say suppose, if I ask you to shout Lord's name here, Vishnu Sahasranama or Govinda, something like that, now in this class, where in this class everybody, let's say, values God, values this type of a devotion, still if I ask you to shout, will you do it? We will not. because it is there is some inhibition. Our ego will not allow you to do. Okay, we are at that level. Okay, now when people are in a crowd, when everybody is shouting, there you feel little more comfortable shouting, and there automatically your thought orientation becomes different. That's what I mean. So it is not that you will go in a satsang and think of something else. The chances of that thought does not arise there. That's the point. The chances of when you are in a satsang, though all the negativities and other things may be there in our present mental level now, the chances of them sprouting is not there. That is why Swamiji says in the utility of karma, bhakti and jnana yoga, he says bhakti yoga changes the quality of your desires. When you are a person constantly is even not comfortable with the crowd, and anybody touches him also, he is very touchy about it. But when he is in a Durga Puja Pandal, or when he is in a Tirupati temple or something like that, his mindset slightly changes there because of the thought association that is there only. Because your thought is oriented somewhere else. That is how your qualitative thoughts increase there. So that is the way to improve. Since if you are able to read, meditate and contemplate, you are on a different level altogether. Since we don't have that, we need some satsang to associate with those things. It becomes a very easy thing for us to bring about.
Reaction and response. I would like a bit more clarification on that. What is the difference between reaction and response?
See, reaction, suppose you open a paper and you say that there is a special cricket match suddenly that's coming there between India Pakistan in Eden Gardens. That comes through your eyes and enters you. That is receipt. Okay. If you are interested in cricket, there is some reaction happening. Whether I should attend the match, or I'll miss the match, or something like that. Reaction. Response could be that you call a friend and ask him to book a ticket, or you write a leave letter to your office, or it could be silence also, or it is some type of frustration that you are not able to watch the match. All that is the response that is coming out. Usually, the receipt is through the organs of perception, reaction is at the level of mind and intellect, and the response is through the organs of action. Whenever you respond with action, you use the organs of action. Sometimes, as I said, not speaking is also a response. But again, you are restricting the organs of action. So, responses to do with or associated with the organs of action. That is the difference.
But sometimes we do spontaneous reaction.
That is when my intellect is not there. See, mind is the clerk in the company. Okay, he receives the letter from the outside. He has to submit it to the boss, the manager. Manager has to open, read it, and give the response. That is the proper office. If the manager is sleeping or the manager is not available, the mind itself opens, the clerk himself opens and he gives some response. Sooner or later that office will close down, right? Mind is like that. Suppose if the intellect is not developed or the intellect is sleeping, the mind itself, we don't even in the instant reaction, that's called as impulsive action. Impulsively you say something and do something, and you can shout at somebody, or you can do certain actions, or you write a will that you are not this and that. All this is instant responses. This is meaning the reaction is not done in a proper way. It is just an emotional response that comes there.
Say response is a considered, maybe a little belated reaction.
Ideally. That is why I'll give you a point for you to think about in the Atma Bodha book, which we'll cover later. I don't know, I haven't fully studied this commentary, but when we covered the previous time Atma Bodha, I said the sense organs of perception, the indriyas. Swamiji has written that the indriyas of the perception are in the mind and the indriyas are of action are in the intellect, as it were. See, these are not separate compartments, but he has equated the sense organs of action as positioned in intellect and sense organs of the perception as positioned in the mind. That means action must be oriented or thought out and coming out of your intellect. That's the point. We'll chant verse 10 twice.
वयसि गते कः कामविकारः शुष्के निविर्कः कासारः क्षीणे वित्ते कः परिवारो ज्ञाते तत्त्वेकः संसारः वयसि गते कः कामविकारः शुष्के निवृत्तः कासारः क्षीणे वित्ते कः परिवारो ज्ञाते तत्त्वेकः संसारः.
When age is gone, where is the play of lust? When water has dried, where is the lake? When wealth is gone, where is the retinue? When knowledge of reality arises, where is terrestrial entanglement or samsara? He says here that direct cause of getting rid of samsara is knowledge of reality. It starts with satsang. We said satsang is conducive where you develop the intellect, and intellect helps you to grow up to a great level where you are removing all those obstacles which are covering the self. That's about all. But what really finally gives you liberation? Knowledge of self alone gives liberation. This is a statement of fact or truth for which he has given 3 epigrams which depict this cause and effect relationship. Same thing we are going to see in Atma Bodha later, that for cooking you may do various things that are necessary for cooking as a preparation, like washing, cutting, cleaning, buying the vegetables, various preparations with reference to cooking. But finally, what is the direct cause for cooking? Fire. Fire is the direct cause for cooking. Till such point of time you are cutting and other things, you will not put it in the fire to cook. They are all required. But if you ask what is the direct cause for actual cooking, it is the fire. Exactly like that. What is the direct cause for liberation? It is knowledge of the self. What is the direct cause for liberation from your dream world? It is the knowledge of the waking world. The moment you wake up into this world, erstwhile dreams that you are having when during sleep, you are liberated completely from it. So what is the direct cause? It is the knowledge of the self. So this knowledge is not any other knowledge like any other knowledge in the world. It is a different kind of a knowledge altogether. It is the awareness of the supreme reality, for which he says, when the age is gone, where is the play of lust? Very carefully mark these words. Where is the play of lust? Kama vikaraha. Important here is vikaraha, because 5 verses later he is going to say that a person is in his extreme old age, yet he has a lot of desires within him. Desires will be there, but the body is not conducive enough to express it in a vikara, means in that modified way where he plays about it as he used to do when he was youth. So age is there as a restricting factor from expressing itself at the physical level. So when the body is at that level, where is that? We are not saying that therefore he is going to automatically take to spirituality or something. That is not what is discussed here. There is no chance for him to indulge and express himself as freely as he used to do when he was young. There is a direct cause and effect there. Then shushke nire kaha kasaraha. When the water has dried up, where is the lake there? It is just, suppose there are certain lakes which are shallow, but it from a distance it will look like something going up and down like this only. You can't even make out whether there is a lake or not when the water has completely dried up. You know, when the speed races that they have, not races, sometimes they have this Guinness records for setting the high speed in motor car, particularly in going in reverse and all. I don't know, few years back it was nearly 300 kilometers per hour. Somebody went in reverse. I don't know now. It might have increased. You know where do they set these records?
Desert.
Not desert exactly. It happens to be like desert when a flat lake actually gets dried up. There is absolutely no resistance, and it's a vast area where without any fear he can do the reverse. In a road, suppose however big it is, however broad it is, to go exactly in the straight way over a period of time, there might be some risk, though however smooth it is. A naturally formed lake gives that sort of a smooth terrain where they set these records. Where there is no water, it is no more a lake. It becomes maybe a race course also. And Kshine vitte kaha parivaro. Again, from the practical point of view, he is saying the retinue that follows a person is only for his wealth, for his money. When the wealth is gone, where are the followers? Nobody. Nobody is going to follow you, which he has explained earlier. And then, therefore, he says, Jnate tatve kaha samsaraha. For a person who has absolutely woken up to the reality, he has known the self. For him, samsara doesn't exist. You may see that person moving here and there in the world like you and me, but for him, that samsara doesn't exist. For us, samsara is very real now. Samsara is an unintelligent relationship that we get caught up or entwined, where we find it very difficult to extricate us from. He floats on the water. There is no entanglement for him at all, because he has realized the self. Jnate tatve kaha samsara. When the age is gone, where is the play of lust? When water has dried, where is the lake? When wealth is gone, where is the retinue? When knowledge of reality arises, where is the terrestrial entanglement? Samsara. Verse 11. Yes.
Doctor, this what is that? Kshine vitte kaha parivara. I can imagine some family where the vitta is very, very lower, but still everybody is happy. In fact, they are happier than the people who have done tons of money.
Correct.
So this one does not.
That's why I said, from the practical point of view, what he has explained before, based on that he is giving this verse. In general, what we see in the world, but again, apply the formula that is there in the previous verse. Such a family which is devoted to a person is oriented, it is actually a satsang, it is not a family, it is actually a satsang. They are bound to each other, not based on any physical relationship or just merely emotional relationship. They are bound on something else. They will not, see, some may do it out of sense of duty, mechanically, but with that extreme sense of joy, nobody will be, even if a person is doing service to a person who is not having money and who is diseased or something, still the wife may do, mostly out of a sense of duty, which is, I would say, good, which is positive. But where is the sense of extreme joy or something to do it? That requires a different type of a mindset altogether. In other words, what we need to question here is, and again, I am not pinpointing to any family will do that or it is a common thing. If there is any other choice or something like that, see, most of the time, the bondage which is self-created, it is what is commonly getting bound yourself in a family. There are some who break the bondage and go away. See, some people even continue as husband and wife together because the thought of divorce itself is something, an anathema for them. It is just not possible that you have to live together, either for the sake of society, for the sake of children together. Some people break that and they divorce and go away. That doesn't mean every person who doesn't divorce is a very, very happy and a sattvic couple who are moving towards self-realization. That is a different thing altogether. So you have to understand the parivara from the point of view of what he talks about from the worldly point of view here. That's all. Verse 11.
Ma kuru dhana jana yauvana garvam harati nimeshat kala sarvam maya mayamidam akhilam buddhva brahma padam tvam pravisha viditva Ma kuru dhana jana yauvana garvam harati nimeshat kala sarvam maya mayamidam akhilam buddhva brahma padam tvam pravisha viditva.
Do not act vain over wealth, retinue, youth. Time loots all away in a moment. Having understood and realized all this as totally illusory, you enter the state of reality, Brahman. Maya mayamidam akhilam buddhva. Maya mayamidam means having realized this as totally illusory. Then you enter the state of Brahman. Swamiji always says that we are all attached to toys at a different level. Just as children are attached to some toys. We saw in the 7th verse, child is attached to toys, the youth is attached to passion. So as long as we are attached to passion, we are passing through that phase of the youth, you can say. And this passion, generally he clubs it under 7 categories. Name, fame, power, position, family, status, money. You think all the other things will fit into any of these things only. So this is the toy that makes our joy. Like the word, the toys that make our joys comes in the poem called Toys. Very beautiful poem. Patmore, and it's there in the poems book also. So for the children, some toys make their joys which they will not leave. We are caught up in a different set of toys. So these are the toys that we play with all the time. These are representatively given here as youth, wealth and retinue. Dhana, Jana, Yavana. Always the Jana and retinue and this thing is coming up again and again. In other words, we can say that from one angle the world is made up of physical body, material objects and beings. Correct? So Dhana or wealth is equivalent to material objects. Your Yavana or youth is referring to your body, and Jana or people is referring to the beings. You look at the world, these are the 3 things that are making up the world. Now the point is, we can possess any of these 3 and have a pride or egoistic notion about it. It all starts from the attachment with body only, and from the body whatever you associate with your possessions, your relatives, your friends, all the beings that are there, all followers, whatever it is. Everything is centered around from the body. The sense of that I am the body is there as long as we are the individual, it will be there. So therefore the basic ego is there. In the 16th chapter of Gita, when he talks about the divine qualities, he is talking about one quality called as Na Atimanita. No, not much pride. Atimanita means much pride. That means some pride is allowed. Not allowed. What it means is when you say I am going, I am sleeping, all that is also pride, all that is also ego. But at least when you are in the level of having this egoistic notion, we must do everything to dissolve the ego, go this direction. Rather, we may go in the other direction, consolidating our ego. That is called as Atimanita. Already we have ego. You do everything to consolidate it further. That is a demonic quality. Divine quality is trying to reduce it. Okay. And when we are having this thought of this body and our constant attachment and constant identification with this body, this goes through metamorphic changes in each and every creature, be it plant, be it animal, be it humans. Every creature goes through where the body has to go through a change. Finally it will be destroyed. Why? Even a physical body of this non-living being will go through that. It is inevitable. You can do yoga, you can do jogging and keep your body in a very great condition. Even then you will postpone this. That's about all. At some point of time this has to take over because it has a shelf life. What has a beginning has to have an end. The body goes through 5 metamorphic changes: birth, growth, disease, decay, death. Birth, growth, disease, decay, death. And in the 6th one they say Asti. Asti means in and through all this, in some form or other, the body is. Or you can say before birth it is there in some position inside the mother's womb. From there itself if you want to start. So the body is there and it is going through these changes. Each and every aspect of the change is associated with pain. Birth is a pain, therefore that's why we cry during birth. Then disease, decay, death, definitely there is a pain. But what is interesting is even in growth there is pain. Because of our erstwhile attachments, there is pain. Growth of wisdom tooth is a pain. The graduation from one class to another, the child is somewhat painful. A girl gets married and goes to her house. Now it is a graduation again in some form, but that's a pain there. Growth involves pain. But as far as our body is concerned, the peak of growth comes during the youth. That is when your faculties, senses, physical body, everything matures to its optimum. And therefore, at that point of time, we have our strength at the maximum. You may even not eat for hours together and nothing will happen, and that is a kick or a pride about that. And this slowly, the thought goes into that nothing can happen to me. This is probably a phase everybody goes through in their youth. But at that point of time, nobody realizes it. And everybody, that is where they realize what is known as a generation gap. They will say like that, either parents or teachers, they don't know what we go through. They are all old fashioned, not realizing they have also gone through the same phase only. This is called as Yavvana Garvam. Yavvana Garvam means that pride of I can take care. This sort of a thing. But in all these cases, he says, it is good that if you have that strength, you have that virility, maintain it, continue it. As long as it comes, it's okay. But remember, time can loot this away in a second, in a flash. Harati nimeshat. Nimeshat means in a minute, in a second, in a moment. Time is all powerful. See, if you have this, you might have seen, but sometimes otherwise search for this. Sometimes this tsunami or other waves, not even tsunami waves, big waves in the ocean. People just venture into ocean, they are normal tourists or something, and they just play about it, thinking that the wave is there. But it's incredible. These are all maybe sometimes when we see in the video, it is startling. Before they realize, one step only they have to take, but in that one step the wave washes them away. Incredible. They are playing with the power of nature. Not playing, it's not that they are challenging nature. The thought that a wave is there, I can take care. It is just in a moment. The earthquake has to be there just like this. 1 second it has to have its self relaxed for a minute, and there can be enormous destruction. What I am trying to say is, the power of the nature of these 5 elements independently, they are incredible. And we are blissfully unaware of it, but we think we have got all the power. I have got all the power, and this power is maximum with reference to body in his youth time. Therefore, what we develop is known as Yavvana Garvam. But remember, time is very, very powerful. Harati Nimeshat Kala Sarvam. In a moment it can go. When we talk about wave, I was remembering this only. Swamiji's friend Vishy. Vishy is from Vijayanagaram Empire. He belongs to that royal family. Even today, I think Ashok Gajapati Raju is still there as the civil aviation minister. He is from the Telugu Desam party, I think. He belongs to that family only, and his uncle or grand uncle, whatever, that generation is this person. In the old Vedanta treatise, if you read, I don't know in the new if it is there, in the 2nd chapter of part B, he is talking about the establishment of what is I there. Who are you? Then he gives the name. No, I am asking who are you, not your name. And so on. So in that, Swamiji has written, I am Ashok Gajapati Raju. And then I didn't ask for your name. Who are you? I am Prince of Vijayanagaram. I am not asking for your status or your position. I am asking who are you? Swamiji said that portion he wrote at that point of time when he was writing the Vedanta treatise. He heard the death of his near friend and dear friend Vishy. This Vishy was a person, and their family, their genes, and they had such a sort of a huge physical structure in terms of fat and muscles, like that. It is hanging everywhere. That is okay. Some people have some genes, you can say, but the best part is they considered that as health. They considered that as asset or a health, something like that. That is their notion. He used to say jokingly that they used to push this person Vishy into the back seat of ambassador car with great difficulty. That type of he was when he was in the college. Only one person can sit in the back row, that too with great difficulty. That person, he somehow came in contact with a naturopathy doctor or a therapist from America, and maybe at that level it was a satsang for him. Somehow he got into it, and the doctor gave him certain advices, tips as to how to be on fruits and nuts only, and within a matter of months he became one of the best fit slim person in their friends, and he used to eat only fruits and nuts only once a day, but enough good quantity, but that's the only thing. And once in a week he used to keep fasting for one full day, and even on that Saturday he used to play 5 sets of tennis. Like that it was. So you can imagine the level of health he gained, and he used to then flaunt his sort of healthy body. Like Swamiji says, whenever somebody goes to his house, there used to be a rope hanging in the middle of the room. Purposely he has hanged. And then invariably people ask, what is this for? Oh, that's nothing. And he used to suddenly climb it upside down, something like that. Can you do it? He used to challenge others. Nobody could do it. When he was 52, he asked the doctors to certify that he was no more than 25. Like that it was. He became such, and his wife and children also got into that habit, and it was quite a healthy family. And what happened is, once he went for a swim in the ocean, and he never came back. That's all it is. It was a very healthy body till the last moment. It was very good, everything healthy about him. But this is what time can do. We do not know how and when it strikes. Harati nimeshat kalas sarvam. In a moment it can go away. He is not asking us to be pessimistic. He is only saying this is the reality. Therefore, do not vainly get this pride over your youth. It is a passing phase. Be good and you gain strength so that vitality in some form or the other carries you through. That is all good. Body is a vehicle, and we have studied in the Upanishad that your stirai rangaihi, that means your anga should be strong till your last days. All that is fine. But never ever get into that pride of youth that nothing can happen to me. What will happen? I can take care. This is a phase that is most conducive in the youth, where the faculties are at their maximum. We'll continue in the next class.
Poornam Adha Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.